All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Crossing Swords. As always, I'm Andrew.
And I'm dead. Ooh.
It's the first sound effect we've ever got right, and I
Yeah,
feel
boy.
goddamn proud.
Should feel proud. It's a huge achievement. You've done very well.
I've managed to remember one, and probably by next week, I won't have any recollection of what it means.
I'd give you a round of applause if I thought we were going to go for two in a row, but I just don't trust myself.
I'm going to just try this for a second.
Quite appropriate.
It's a laughing track every time, isn't it?
Even the mix is laughing at you.
I reckon it could be this one. Bear with us, guys.
I mean, you just keep going. This will be the whole episode. Again, what you've done is you've not picked the one you wanted, but you are picking like surprisingly accurate.
Do I risk?
I'll do it. Nailed it.
It must be this one then. Right, we found the applause, guys.
And do you know what I think that deserves?
Do you know, I would have loved.
We mastered it.
I would have loved
We mastered it.
Do you know what? We had to do that at some point just for us to get the bravery to actually try it. But yeah, guys, sorry, we digressed a little bit this week. It's Halloween.
It's Halloween, man.
Da-da-da-da.
I like that your first reaction was you're so scared of the sound effects that you went straight to doing it with your mouth. You went straight to vocalising it before you even tried it.
Plus, I think I'm better than the soundboard. I think I'm that arrogant.
I think you are. I think there's a certain...
It's very sweet of you. It's not true, but thank you.
There's a beauty to your voice that the soundboard is very robotic. Can't
That's
match.
fair. That's fair. So right, this week we're going to do some silly superstitions and scary ghost stories. So which one of us is going first, Mr. Hayes?
Would you want me to go first? I've got some...
What do you want to start with, ghost stories or silly superstitions?
Well, you can do either. I will say this. I found this a very difficult thing to look up.
Yeah.
Because as those of you who have listened before will know, I'm a non-believer.
Oh, what, in the paranormal?
In the paranormal.
So none
and
of it's
stuff like
scary
that.
to you?
So none of it's scary to me. And what I found often when I was reading these stories was I was thinking, okay, but you're not reporting the facts. You're interpreting the facts and then reporting your interpretation. If you just report the facts, it's actually not a very interesting story. There's not really that much scary to it, and it's just a normal.
But if you live your life
urban or
like that, the
suburban life.
world's just boring.
The world makes sense to me.
Does it though? Does the world make sense to you, Jake, with your logical
Well, I mean, the
mind?
fact we have listeners might elude me a little bit, but
No, but I know
for the most part.
Nah, you can't understand why Boris is in charge at the moment, so...
No, sadly I can. I think that's what's really worrying. But with he's, I'll tell you what a great introduction to Halloween, because he's scary as shit.
He is. But don't worry, guys, this isn't a political episode, I promise.
No, but my first story, okay, the 2019 general election. Ooh.
Sorry, you're going to find that's going to get overused this episode, I think.
And not by me.
No, it is me every time, I have to admit.
Okay, so let's start here. Ready? In high school, this guy and his friend were messing around with a Ouija board one night.
Why do people do that?
It's a classic start to one. Why would you not? It's just a...
No, they're dodgy shit, man. I wouldn't mess with a Ouija board.
Do you know what? I'm really disappointed now, because I feel like if we'd have planned this better, if we'd have had a bit more of a... We try not to talk too much about what we're going to talk about on the pod, because we like it to be natural and in the moment on the pod.
Yeah, otherwise it feels like we're just...
But if we'd have prepared a little bit more about the podcast, what we could have done is got a Ouija board and done a live Ouija boarding.
That wouldn't have happened.
Well, I'd have done a live Ouija boarding.
I wouldn't have been here.
Okay, but...
You'd have been doing the podcast on your own.
You'd have been here in spirit. I could have spelt out your replies from the Ouija board. Or do you have to be dead to talk for a Ouija board?
I believe you have to be dead.
Oh, well, anyone who listens to the last episode knows that you and me are going together, apparently, when you get your terminal diagnosis.
If I get a terminal diagnosis, let's touch wood on that.
Yeah, I'm not too happy about it. Anyway, this guy's messing around with a Ouija board and his friends. They've done it before. Nothing remarkable had ever happened, okay? They usually did it to try and scare each other or their girlfriends and stuff.
Yeah.
They just thought it was one big joke. But one night, there was no one else in the house except 7 of them who were playing with this Ouija board. One of the girls there wanted to try it because she'd never done the Ouija board thing before. So this time was a bit different. The board misspelt some of the words, but in the same way every time. and it gave answers that seemed really historically accurate for our town, like things we never knew or cared about at the time.
Okay.
Long story short, the spirit, and they've air quoted it themselves
Jake
there.
said that. He
No,
tried
no,
to say that with
they
a straight face
air
as
quoted
much as
that. They air
possible.
quoted that. The
Yeah,
spirit claimed it was a 10-year-old boy who had died on the property in the 1800s and was buried there in an unmarked grave.
Please tell me they dug it up.
We were all a little freaked out because the board had never been so detailed and consistent. However, we were still sceptical, and we were all assuming one of us was trying to scare the rest. Finally, my friend asked the spirit if it could do something to prove he was there with us. Classic, right? You want to up the game. You're with your friends. You're playing big man.
Smash some stuff.
It went to yes on the Ouija board. So the setup of Ouija board is like letters and some basic ones like yes and no. Yeah, you know.
But
You just won't let me get one.
Well, no, you can get one, Jake. Just don't ever use it when I'm around you.
So the Ouija board went to yes, and then it spelled out knock. And then the thing stopped moving on the Ouija board, and they all stared at it silently for a little bit. And then there was a knock, knock, knock on the window right next to them. The lights were on outside. There was no one there, and they abandoned the Ouija board. They never went near it again. What do you make of that?
Should we do it on the believability scale that we did before?
You can do, but I think I know what all my answers are going to be.
Well, should we do scareability this time then? How much that would
I imagine.
All right, so let's do it this way. If you were in that scenario as those people, how scary would you find it? Should we do? I know your answers are probably still going to be similar, but
No, but I think it would certainly make you jump.
yeah.
It probably would freak you out a little bit.
I mean, I'm guessing you think someone was just waiting outside and knocked on the window and.
Well, no, I think anything can make a noise against a window. I don't have to be a fucking dead human hand.
Well, no, I'm not implying it was dead. It could have been, like I'm saying.
No, you're saying a live person. No,
Yeah.
no, I think anything, it could be, like leaves and twigs rattling up against it. It could be, and also in these old houses,
Do you
the
know what?
windows
I
are not
do-
securely
I
in the
do
frame,
hear
so
a
they
lot
can.
Leaves hit my house, and I do often think someone's at the front door.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, see, there you go, right? We're halfway there to a believable answer. How would you... listen, you would find it...
It would shit me up. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
you'd
lie.
find it scary.
If
I'm
I
not
was
gonna
there,
lie.
I'd be shitting myself.
Because also you G each other up. One
Well, yeah,
person shits
I
themselves,
mean,
and then you've got to be like, oh, and it just kind of builds.
I'm a massive pussy, but also as we've discussed on the pod before.
So did you say you are or you have?
What? I have a massive pussy.
Oh, you
always.
are? Okay, yeah,
I'm
no, both.
And yeah, I'm a massive wimp, and I believe in sort of the spiritual side of things. And I don't know if it's 100% real or not, but I'm scared enough
Not to try it.
I wouldn't even participate in the using of a Ouija board, let alone all that shit.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so what about believability then? How do you rate believability?
I mean, if I'm in the room, I'm convinced someone just knocked on the window.
Because don't forget the build up. You've got the misspelt words.
Yeah, I wouldn't have slept that night if it was
Because this
me.
dead kid is thick as shit.
So I mean,
Can't
like,
spell.
in truth, like I think Ouija boards are dodgy. So for me, believability, we're pushing 7, 8, 9.
Really?
Not quite 10 because there's that tiny thing in my head that says it's not real, but
It's
it's
high.
massively overpowered.
As high as it could.
Yeah. What about you?
I mean, solid like 1. Sorry.
Fair enough.
Spoiler alert for the episode, by the way.
That's fair. Right.
But Big's answers could range, and that's what you should focus on. Andrew's answers could range on the believability scale, and that's what you should focus on, not mine.
Right. Well, I picked. Should I say how I got my stories?
Entirely up to you. You want to break the illusion? You break the illusion.
I won't.
No,
break the
you
illusion.
don't.
Right. Well, I've got a story here. It's called The Cell Phone. A couple of months ago, my friend's cousin, a single mother, bought a new cell phone. After a long day of work, she came home, placed her phone on the counter and went to watch TV. Her son came to ask if he could play with her new phone, and she told him not to call anyone or mess with her text messages, to which he agreed. At around 11:20 at night, she was drowsy, so she decided to tuck her son in and go to bed. She walked into his room and saw that he wasn't there. She then ran over to her room to find him sleeping on her bed with the phone in his hand. Relieved, she picked her phone back up from his hand to inspect it. Browsing through it, she noticed only minor changes such as a new background banner and bits like that, but then she opened up saved pictures. She began deleting the pictures he had taken until only one new picture remained. When she saw it, she was in disbelief. It was her son sleeping on the bed, but the picture was taken by someone else above him. and it showed the left half of an elderly woman's face.
Okay, so first of all, minor things. Someone starts changing your background on your phone. Are they minor changes? I'd be quite fucked off.
Yeah, but you're not a parent.
Right, and that's true.
Kids do shit.
Yeah, I know,
Like
but
my currently like 7-month-old nephew knows how to change YouTube to Indonesian language, and we can't change it back.
there's a really easy solution to that. But you do what you do. You struggle. I'm not going to give you
Well,
it.
no, but we can't read Indonesian, so we don't know what the settings.
I know, but there's a really easy way to read Indonesian.
Is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you. It's more amusing
What,
for you to
learn
read
Indonesian?
Indonesian. I mean, that's one way to do it. On my way, it takes about 30 seconds. Your way takes about
What, Google
3
Translate?
years. Yeah, Google Translate. But you can get it on your phone so that the camera reads and
Can you?
and changes it in live
Fair
time.
enough. Oh,
Oh, there you go. I've
obviously
told
I'm
you
too
anyway.
much of an old man to know that technology exists.
But okay, so what's happened is someone's broken into her house.
What, an
Or
old elderly woman?
equally, phones do have timers on the cameras.
What, do you think the kid put it somewhere,
Fucking around with it, he sets it up, gets a good angle,
goes and lays in bed,
goes
in
and
a
lays in the
sexy
bed, takes
position?
it, wants to send some pictures to Bay.
Well, that's the thing. She didn't specify how old the kid was.
No, and that kind of throws me. I did wonder at the start when she's like my cousin, who's a single mother. I'm like, is that relevant? No, it doesn't feel like it's going to be. It was relevant. No,
Or
to be
maybe
fair, it was relevant.
her ex-partner's broken in and taken the photo.
Yeah, maybe he looks like an old woman. Like we've both met
So,
some weird looking people.
How would you feel if that happened to you? Your kid's asleep in bed, you pick up your phone, there's photos that have been taken of him by someone else.
Well, I'd change the locks, probably.
What, on the house?
Yeah.
She'd be scared.
Well, yeah, I think my initial concern is, look, when it comes to my kids, and we've already established I don't have any, but when it comes to my kids, can't take chances. You know, the one time you get lapse is the one
So
time
how
something
do you-
happens.
What about the old lady face? How does that make you feel?
I'd have to see it to really know how I'd feel. I just on the description, anything, it could have been anything. I'd have to see it.
That's fair.
What about you?
What about on the scale? So what number are you giving it on scareability?
On scareability, probably like a good 7 or 8, to be honest, because it implies that someone's broken into my home.
I'm pleasantly surprised you've given it. I think that's because there's practical implications.
There's
to the
absolutely
issue.
practical. There's a danger to my child. This has
yeah.
gone above and beyond like some fucking ghost shit. There's a predator. There's
Well, no, it
potentially a
could still
predator
be
in
a
my
ghost.
child.
You can't prove that it wasn't a ghost.
I know, but you can't prove that it was.
Well, no, but there you go. We're both right.
But there's like an actual threat to my child. I can't.
No, that's fair. That's
I can't
fair.
be like, oh, my child might be about to get raped and murdered.
Well,
Too,
like, but
you know, little bit scared.
believability,
Believability in terms of the paranormal aspect of it, like
0.
yeah, sort of 1 or 2, because until I see it,
Yeah,
I
no,
just
get
can't
that.
comment on it.
I
So
get that.
you scareability and believability.
Oh, that would shit me up as well. So I'm talking probably like you 7, 8, something like that. Believability, like you sort of have to be in that situation to know how you'd feel about it. But knowing me, it would probably shit me up. I wouldn't like the old lady face. I'd be wondering why that was there. So I'm
Interesting to contemplate on the fact.
believability, I'd probably put around a 5.
Okay, so lesser than the. What I like is that so obviously the believability plays into the scareability, because what we're saying is that this genuine threat to your child scores less than a Ouija board and someone knocking on a window.
Well, I think in my head, like I know.
What you're in your head, what you're concerned is threat to my child, bad. Threat to me, worse.
No, look, for me, if you bring a Ouija board into your house and start inviting dark shit in, everyone's under threat. Do you know what I mean? Not just the kids or me, it's everyone. I think for me, like, if that happened to me, I'd be like, well, I know everything's locked in my house. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
So, like, I think that part of it would take... in my head would rationalise it. Well, it's got to be a spirit because no one's got in here. Do you know what I mean?
That's your head goes straight to ghost.
Yeah.
No one's bro. It's got to be a ghost.
But yeah, in terms of believably, I don't know.
Also, I'll throw this out there for the believability, just to give you something to ponder.
Yeah.
Little old lady who's potentially been dead for at least she's died immediately. More realistically, the ghost the ghost her has died years
Excuse
ago,
me.
right?
Yeah.
And we're saying she knows how to use a smartphone. Old people don't know how to use smartphones now anyway, and they're the ones that are alive. Imagine one that's died before smartphones became smartphones.
No, I think more people are into smartphones now.
I know, but
I see old people with smartphones.
you think ghosts are catching up with technology?
Well, they get to watch everything, I guess.
You think ghosts are on TikTok?
I don't think they're on TikTok. It doesn't mean they don't
No,
watch
but they know
it.
how to use.
I mean, that could be the title of the episode, couldn't it? Ghosts are on TikTok.
Could be.
No, I just think no. I think you're just being silly, not engaging.
Yes, to this very serious discussion we're having on ghosts and paranormals, I'm being very silly, and I apologise for lowering the.
You should apologise.
For lowering
What's
the
your next
seriousness,
story?
for mocking it. Okay. So the next one is
Little bitch.
this one. This one's not so much like a ghost or anything, which is sort of what appealed to me. It's just a real scary, like, oh shit, that's a bit freaky. In 2005, a 42-year-old woman in Delaware committed suicide by hanging herself from the tree across the street.
Across the street from what? Her house?
From her house. It was a very residential area, very built up, lots of people passing by. But because it was on Halloween, and around Halloween, and there were trick-or-treaters up and down that thing all week, really.
Yeah.
No one reported the body for about a week or so because people thought it was a decoration.
Oh,
People thought it was a really good, convincing decoration.
I don't know, man. I don't think that would be my first assumption.
I know, but we don't take to Halloween as
So is that the
seriously
whole
as they do.
story?
That's the whole story. It's really quick.
Okay.
But we don't take Halloween as seriously as the Americans, to be fair. Like, so
No,
it's a very
don't.
understated thing. So if you see some really
if I
spooky
saw someone
shit,
hanging from a tree in this country, I'd think they were dead.
yeah. Whereas over there, you'd think like, man, these guys take this shit seriously.
Oh, I nearly made a joke.
No, make it.
I was about to say, in America, it would be because they're black.
Well, yeah. I mean, could happen.
Yeah. Has happened.
Still does happen.
Yeah.
Now who's fucking changing the tone of the show?
I know, right? That's quite dark.
Talking seriously about racial
right,
injustices.
So, do we know why this woman hung herself? Or so it's literally just the fact that she was left up there for a week and everyone was walking by. And
Yeah, not only just
worries
passing
me
by,
that
but
no
were
one was
quite
like,
amused by it.
oh, where's Cindy? And like, no one went, oh, do you know what that
woman
decoration
looks like
Do you know what I mean? Like,
You know, but then there's an easy
so
argument.
is this a true story?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really sad.
But then you think that maybe that was what led to her suicide and her depression getting out of hand, or not out of hand, but reaching a peak, was that she was very lonely.
Yeah.
People didn't know her, she didn't know them. I'll admit I really brought the tone down by talking about a real life suicide.
Yeah, I mean, scareability, it would creep me out once I'd known.
Oh, 9 or 10. Scareability and
Yeah.
believability.
Believability
Straight 10.
as it's true, yeah. Yeah, no, that's really sad. It's really sad. Rippers.
Great callback to anyone who's been listening to the pod.
Yeah.
Anyone listening to the podcast
Right,
from
I
previous
feel like
weeks.
we should just sort of
Just move on.
move on. This one is called Ghost Bro.
Ghost bro. My kind of ghost.
My house was built in 1904. It is a single-family home, wood frame setting on a concrete block foundation. I have been living here for about 12 years. Of all the weird things that my siblings and me have seen or heard in this house, this one event is my favourite. This happened to my brother about 10 years ago. My brother and his best friend had started a garage band playing mostly Spanish rock.
So a garage.
Garage band.
I just wanted to check on your pronunciation. Is that how you say garage?
What,
That's how you say garage.
I say
You say
garage.
garage. You say garage.
Well,
yeah,
I'm
cool.
English. So
No, you say garage. No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I just wanted to confirm.
if you want to be posh and say garage, that's up to you.
It's just how you read it in the story.
Did I say garage?
Yeah, you said garage band. That's why I pulled it up.
Oh, no, I do normally just say garage.
That's why I pulled it up.
Oh,
Sorry,
fair
carry
enough.
on.
I thought you were just being...
No, carry on.
You can understand
It's
my
very
confusion.
believable. That believability is high.
Yeah, it's alternative music, but in Spanish. His friends could only get together on Sunday afternoons. They would practice into the early evening, and they would usually call quits about 8 p.m. This was usually the time I showed up and went to bed because I worked graveyard shift. This happened in late fall, so the days were getting shorter. They had just finished a long session when the decision to head to someone else's house came about. My brother handed his car keys to his buddy so they could load up the equipment, and everyone had filled out of the basement. But the tricky part was that they needed to walk all the way back to the basement, up the back stairs, through the kitchen doorway, down the hall into the living room and out into the front porch.
A real conundrum.
Everyone was outside sitting in my brother's truck waiting for him. My brother was walking up the back stairs when he remembered that he had left his pancakes in a to-go container sitting on a speaker in the basement. Now, how American a story is that?
It suddenly takes a
There's
real
pancakes to
transatlantic vibe.
He made the decision to go back. Now, the basement is not clean with full sight lines. There had been partitions made in the boiler, and the main heating unit are right smack in the middle. So after my brother walks back, he is about to retrieve his food container, when out of the corner of his eyes he sees it, a shadowy figure right in his peripheral vision. This feeling of dread and uneasiness washed over my brother. We'd been taught that if you were in the presence of a spirit or ghost and you feel a bad vibe, to say a quick prayer or to cuss at it.
What kind of lifestyle are you living
That
where
this
you've
is a regular
been
occurrence.
actively given advice on what to do if you encounter spirits? In my country, if you encounter spirits, you drink them. That's what we're taught.
My brother chose the latter. He basically just told it, "Hey, fuck you, I don't have time for this shit."
Strong advice.
My brother started to walk.
Is that prayer in the Bible, or is that one that
Well,
priests just do additionally?
I think it's in the Ten Commandments. If one shall run into a spirit,
Shout, fuck you.
yeah, I ain't got time for this shit. My brother started to walk to the back of the basement and briskly up the stairs. I love the fact he just told it to fuck off and then was like, "I'm going about my day now." Closing doors and turning lights as he was walking out. The last light switch is on the opposite side of the front door. Luckily, the door was open and the light from the street lamp was flooding the living room with its amber light. My brother said he felt something at his back, but at no point did he turn around. As he flicked the last light switch in the living room, it went dark, and as the rest of the house did. As he stepped out, he pulled the door, closing it behind him, still holding his food container in one hand. He jogged down the porch steps. He walked towards the front gate. Our house resides on the... Mate, this is going on forever. I do apologise.
Yeah, no, it's one of those. You're halfway through, and it's like I feel like there's a quicker way to get to this story.
Yeah,
It's also because of that section where he's gone from the basement upstairs, which probably took about 30 seconds in real life.
Yeah.
I think about 4 minutes to get through.
Yeah. Our house resides far from the main street, essentially having a large front yard but no rear garage. As he closed the gap between himself and his friend-laden truck, he kind of smiled and thought things over in his head, mad at himself for spooking out when there was no reason. He climbed into the driver's side of the truck, putting on his seatbelt and getting ready to pull out of the parking spot directly in front of the house, when one of his friends asked, "Hey, wait, what about your brother? Isn't he coming with us?" My brother answered, "What do you mean? He went to work early tonight. He's already gone. Do you see his car anywhere?" The next question they asked, "So then who was walking behind you when you were leaving the house?"
I mean, just trying to throw him out, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, what do you think?
First of all, I think the sister is not a natural storyteller. No disrespect.
No,
But
well,
that
no, I
took
think
a-
it's a
that-
brother, isn't it?
No, but the sister's telling it. And, is it a brother?
I'm assuming it's the brother
Oh, well, someone's...
because he
Whoever
does the graveyard.
whoever the
shift.
sibling is, not a natural storyteller, that took some time to
That
get
did
through
take
it.
some time.
I think... Yeah, like, what the fuck, man? Where you're being taught what to do. Like, if you come in contact with a spirit and it's a bad... Also, like, are they being taught to distinguish what a bad vibe is?
Well, to be honest, I think we all know what a bad vibe is compared to a good vibe. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, good vibe in this podcast. Bad vibe, anything else.
Yeah, no,
And that's
I'd
really
agree.
negative.
But no, like, you know, sometimes when you walk into a situation, whether it's with other people or whatever, you'll walk in and you can sort of feel it in the air straight away, like, oh, this is going to be confrontational or this is going to be all right. Do you know what I mean? I sort of get that.
I did have a thought through that as well. That, 1904 is not... is a bit too late. It's about 3 years too late to qualify for the Victorian era. But I do notice that a lot of most ghost stories feature Victorian era
Okay.
figures. Like, they do not even, like, some, but not many, like even World War One and later. You don't really get many. They're all kind of Victorian era. And part of me thinks, is that because the clothes lend themselves really well to creepy, spooky spirits, the high collars and the...
I would
Or,
imagine it probably has to do with, like, we associate the past with old and, you know, Victorian era clothes go quite well with black and white.
yeah,
and
or is it
being very
because...
old and
Well, that's the thing. We started to get, photograph, and we started to be able to see them rather than paintings. We started to actually see them
yeah,
in the Victorian era, and also because the Victorians were into some weird shit, and they really thought they knew their science and stuff, and so they were properly into ghosts and shit.
yeah.
I mean, like, I love the whole
So-
thing that people used to get buried with bells linked through to the grave, through to the coffin in case they were buried alive, like they were that serious about coming back from the dead and
Yeah.
shit like that. So, is that the reason? That's got
Could
nothing
be.
to do with this story anyway, but this story
No,
is just
but-
so... I mean,
So scareability, if you were him and you're in that situation.
well, I'm not sure I would be that scared. I've got my pancakes. That's kind of my focus.
I loved the fact the pancakes got brought in.
They just came out of nowhere.
In
I
a
love it.
to-go container. Who
I love
has
it.
pancakes to go?
Can I give you a challenge?
What's that?
Can I see if you can tell that story now, having read it, quicker than they did, and get all the key points?
Yeah, there was basically some people in a house, and when they were leaving, a guy went to turn some lights off, saw something out the corner of his eye, shit himself but ignored it, told it to fuck off, walked back upstairs, and when he got out of the house, his mate saw something walking behind him.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. I just thought it could be done.
Yeah, I mean, the pancakes didn't even need to be involved in the story, to be honest.
They kind of hooked me in, though.
I think some people like to add texture to a story where the texture's not.
But once
Or like they feel like the fat pancakes are involved, it grounds it, and then you're going to go, oh, well, it must be
once
true.
there was an element of food and good food, I was in. I was
pancakes are
hooked.
nice. People like pancakes.
Okay, so what believability, scareability, go.
Scareability, I mean, if it happened to me, I mean, I do see stuff out of the corner of my eyes all the time, and I don't always know what it is. We all get
Usually
stuff
me trying not to be cool.
Well, it's all stuff in it. I mean, you must see stuff in your peripheral vision sometimes.
Yeah, not
you
really.
don't know what
But
it
that,
is,
to be
or-
fair, I'm not a very observant person. I don't see stuff that's right in front of me sometimes.
Oh, fair enough. See, no, I'm someone that when I sit, I do sort of try and take everything in. And all my life I've always got random flickers of things in my peripheral vision, so it doesn't really scare me like it did when I was a kid. So in terms of scareability, it would more freak me out once I'd got in the car and they said like there was someone walking behind you. That would have creeped me out. But probably overall a 6, maybe. 6.
Okay. And believability.
I think it could happen to anyone. I mean, the people in the car might not have seen properly. They might have just saw a shadow, or it could have been anything. So 4.
That's still... See, that's the thing is, right, so on your believability scale, a 4 is a really low number. For me, 4 is astonishingly high. Like, I will never get near a 4.
Well, no, because we obviously come from completely different
We do have
places
very
on it.
different opinions on these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, scareability, I like a 1. I'm just not bothered about that kind of
That's
thing.
fair.
If I see something, I feel something, as long as it's not like stinging me or biting me.
Would
I
it
feel
creep
it's
you
like
out that they
fine.
thought they saw someone following you in the house?
No,
when you
because I
got in the
think one or
car?
two things. I think either they were just trying to wind me up,
Okay.
or these people are fucking idiots. It's an old house, and I've just turned all the lights out. What the fuck can they see in the dark? I mean, I
Yeah.
know there's the street light coming through, but like you said, it's creating a shadow against the things. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know what they've seen. And they know I've got a brother,
Yeah. No, that's fair enough.
but it doesn't rank very high on my... I mean, it's my favourite part of the story is definitely they're like, well, we were taught...
Yeah. I mean, no, to be honest, though,
Also,
I don't think in America that's that odd because they're still, in a lot of areas, quite religious.
No, but but that's the thing.
And
So
Catholics, there is a big thing of spirit. And
what prayer would you... How would you choose the appropriate prayer? Because, our Father in heaven, give us our daily bread is probably not going to ward off
No,
a ghost.
normally it's stuff like when I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil.
I was genuinely
not what
about to
I would
launch into a
do.
rap lyric, but I'm so glad you went on. No, but also, also, I think, could you just free for it and be like, dear God, please fuck this ghost up. Amen.
I mean, I guess you could do. I think normally in that situation you might just go like a spiritus sancti, all that sort of shit.
Yeah, bust out the rosaries and the
Yeah,
holy
or
ointments.
like that. Normally that sort of person's got a cross on them. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's like a jewelry one or so they're just going to clutch it and go. Do you know what I mean?
This family in a house sitting around having a nice little game night and whatever. They're like, oh, did you feel that? There's a bit of a wind. Get the exorcism kit.
No, but something like people don't actually talk about really is that there is still the segment of the Catholic Church that deals with exorcisms, and you can still legally have an exorcism.
Well, there was that really thing.
But it has to be
not to.
It has to be investigated by the Catholic Church before it can be ratified.
Not to be too morose or down and bring it back to real death again. But there was a case in London a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago maybe, where the guy started acting, and basically he was obviously just going through some kind of psychosis.
Yeah,
and he was acting a bit weird and a bit mental, and he wasn't himself, and it was like a personality switch up kind of thing. And they were convinced, his parents were convinced that he was demonic and that he was possessed. So they tied him down to the bed. Yeah. And they tried to perform exorcisms on him, and he was basically dehydrated. He died after about 3 or 4 days. And I think they were all but one of them. I mean, you'd have to read the story yourself. I think most of them were convicted of manslaughter.
I think I vaguely remember hearing about it.
Yeah, but the point, yes, the point being, sorry, is that there are still groups of people that do strongly believe in this thing, and they put so much weight into it.
Well, that's the thing. I think that side of things, it's like most things. I don't think it needs as much weight to it as is given to it, but I think it deserves more than perhaps people like yourself think it deserves.
And that's fair enough. And I think that's from where you are. I think that's an absolutely fair.
Because, like, look, quite frankly, the stuff I've seen or experienced or felt
you can't explain.
Complete nonsense. And I'm honest to that. But yeah, it's a difficult one to explain. But I'm definitely not. I mean, my first response to someone acting a bit weird wouldn't be, let's get the priest down here and start throwing holy water at them. So yeah, I mean, I don't condone that sort of behaviour, but if it's necessary. If
there is a demon,
well, this is the thing.
There is a demon,
all right. So like, look, we get him on some antidepressants, antipsychosis meds, and a year later he's still frothing at the mouth. I think perhaps we could indulge a priest coming round. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, that's one way to go about it.
I mean, I don't know if I actually would, but I hope I'm never in a situation where I feel a priest doing an exorcism is necessary. But I would do it for you, Jake, if I deemed it necessary. I just want you to know that.
But there are websites where you can like rent an exorcism priest.
No, I'd want to go legit.
Are you trying to invalidate those that are charging for?
No, but like I know this will sound ridiculous, but like I think the idea of an exorcism is that you're using the power of God to expel something evil. You. Well, yeah. And so if I've not got a legit priest that's been given the go-ahead by His Holiness, then quite frankly, I don't think it's going to work as effectively. That's just...
We just go straight to the Vatican and try and get His Holiness.
I don't think that's part of his job remit, sadly.
Bro, there's a demon knocking about. I feel like the Pope should be dealing with that.
No, the Pope doesn't deal with demons, bro.
Yeah, what does the Pope deal with? Bureaucracy?
Yeah.
He's a priest.
He is absolutely
a priest. He is a priest.
He's an ex-cardinal. No. I think like there's a different branch of the Vatican. They don't like. He wouldn't clean the floors. Do you know what I mean? So, like,
well, no, but I would never say that a priest's duty would be to clean. I'd never be like, oh, there's a spillage over there, or I'll call the priest round.
Well, you would if it was his church, wouldn't you?
Well, I might. If I was being a good Christian, I'd offer to do it for him.
Oh, we both know you're not a good Christian.
I'm not. I'm a really bad Christian.
Yeah.
I don't even believe in God. I mean, it's a really bad Christian thing that I do.
That's fair. I mean, I was baptized. Well, no, look, everyone's different, man. Like, I don't necessarily believe in God. I don't really know what I believe in all honesty.
So you're quite agnostic in many ways. There's something, but you're not really sure what.
What I normally put it down to is there is something, and this is really going off tangent, but like the way I sort of explain it, I've had conversations with people in the past, is there is something that made all of this happen in terms of we started off as single cell organisms, and then something caused that to combine together and create multi, and then evolution has gone from there. Whatever that force is, whether it's just momentum or whatever it is that pushes things forward. I think that's the closest thing to God we'll ever find.
Do you know what I've never understood?
And if anything, I would say my religion is Murphy's Law, that anything that can happen
Will happen.
will happen.
Fair enough.
That's as close as to an answer as to whether I believe in God or not. It probably means that I lean closer to no.
Probably didn't expect this kind of philosophical opening.
No, not on a Halloween episode.
Do you know what I've never understood about the whole evolution versus Darwinism versus religion?
What's
not
that?
Religion. Is that like they don't have to be separate.
No,
Like, you
they're
can
not
still
mutually
believe in,
exclusive.
You can believe that God created things, but then believe that God's smart enough to go
to make evolution
you
happen.
do your own thing, man. Yeah, I'm not like, I'll leave you to it, and I've put enough potential in you all that you'll grow into whatever you grow into.
Both pursuits, religion and science, have room to allow space for the other to be involved. I don't think they have to be something that's necessarily kept apart.
I can't agree with that.
Because I do think at some point, this technological revolution we've been on for the majority of our lifetimes, there's only so far you can take that. Because eventually, one, our resources run out, or two, we destroy ourselves, or whatever. And I feel like there's other things we could explore as well as science. I think science is the most important, but I think there's definitely the spiritual aspect to life, whether that's meditation, however you want to approach it. I feel
spiritual, not religious necessarily.
I feel like society in general has got to a place where the spiritual aspect to life is very much derided or looked down upon, rather than seeing it as something that you can pursue and there's some value to it. I'm not saying it's as valuable as the scientific aspect, but I do think we're going to reach a point where we might have hit a level at science and then gone, well, we've taken this as far as we can.
Well, I don't think that's there's the whole scientific half-life thing, that half of what we know now will have disproven in the future.
Yeah.
And we're constantly evolving.
We're always doing that
and
anyway.
I will say this, the spiritual
changed.
thing, there is a kind of arrogance to some science believers almost, I was going to say, but where they look down on the spirituality, as you say. But what it is even if you don't believe that someone's actually connecting with something or whatever, they're still getting a huge benefit from it.
Yeah.
And that can't be...
No, exactly.
That can't be mocked on.
And to be honest, what embracing spirituality did for me more than anything, it's not a religious aspect at all. It's what it did for me as a human being in terms of helping calm me, and I'm far less aggressive a person I was than before I took up things like meditation. Oh, yeah, mate. When a girl asks you to smack that ass, you smack that ass. Do you know what I mean?
No, but why do you make me put it in a formal request?
For my filing, in case you ever decide to get a little bit bitchy and say that I never had permission, I can just pull out the form. And
there will be something I would do.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love, can I just say, by the way, before we kind of move on and get back to it, I love when we do this with the podcast, where we set out with an idea of, this is what we can talk about, and then we just end up talking about something really deep and weird, and it's not at all what we expected.
No. I mean, I like those conversations in general. I'll always have them.
Me too. Me too. Those late night conversations when you couple of beers, couple of friends.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
They're the best.
Especially for stuff like spiritual stuff, it's not something that's commonly talked about, so it's not a conversation I get to have often.
No, which is, how does that, I mean, again, we will get back to it, but how does that make you feel, the whole thing that it is a part of you, and yet it doesn't, you don't feel like you can just bring it up with anyone?
It's definitely not as big a part of my life as it was when I was first introduced to it. I don't really practice meditation anymore. I probably should, to be honest. But it was very difficult as a teenager, because that was probably the point where I was at my most into it, and then I started making friends, that it was something so far removed from that world. And then as I've got older, it was only really, to be honest, older people that have any sort of interest in it. And I don't know whether that's a correlation, because they're starting to realise they're coming to the end of their life, or
they're looking for answers.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's a correlation between
comforts,
perhaps. But yeah, it's not. It doesn't really bother me, because like, I get it when you've got Jehovah's Witnesses going around people's doors and people screaming into a speaker when you're going down the high street from the Bible.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And
people
trying
do
to sell
find
you
it
something. It's impossible for someone to believe that if I ever try to randomly bring up a conversation about spiritualism with them that they don't think I'm some sort of nut.
As
that
a
wants
general
to sell
rule,
them
people do
something.
try and find it difficult. People do find it difficult to distinguish between religious and spiritual
Yeah,
stuff.
and like the way I've always handled it is the way my dad always used to handle it, was that if someone asks or mentions something to do with it,
You go into
then
it
I
fine.
open up about it. If not, then I keep it to myself. But I've got enough people in my life, like my family, that are still
That are into it
Yeah,
enough that you can talk about
yeah,
it.
yeah. But it's not a massive part of my life like a religion would be or anything like that. But yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. Anyway, so right, so I've got one more. So this could work out
Cool.
all right in terms of time. So,
Yeah.
guys talking about it, moved into 455A Sackett Street
Okay.
when he was 14 years old on April the 1st, 1998. I don't know if that plays any relevance, to be honest. I sort of skimmed the story. I'll be honest, I don't know if that comes back into it. But we'll move on. From the moment we moved in, something was not right. It was an incredibly dark apartment, though we should have been thrilled because it was the first apartment we'd ever had with more than one floor. There were 3 floors, including the basement, and it was nice. If you could ignore the feeling of someone standing right behind you or staring at you wherever you went. Within 2 weeks of moving in, fucking I'm so sorry. Where I skimmed the story, I did not read this bit. It gets so dark.
Oh God.
All my stories are so dark. And this one I thought was genuinely paranormal, and it just takes a really dark.
Oh
I'm
Jesus.
so sorry. Oh fuck.
I think you've just
Oh,
looked up horrific true stories, haven't you?
I genuinely thought this was paranormal. I'm so sorry.
Go on.
Oh my God. Within 2 weeks, and now it sounds like I'm laughing at this person's trauma. Within 2 weeks of moving in, I was raped in my own bedroom
She
and from
was
the neighbourhood.
She was raped in her bedroom. Just so we don't get cancelled, can you stop discussing rape while laughing, please?
I'm so sorry. An elderly woman who lived right next door for most of our lives informed us that no one had occupied our apartment for more than a year at a time since as long as she could remember. She also related that terrible tragedies befell all of the people who had stayed there, within only a few weeks of moving in, continuing through to the day that they moved out. Though we all had eerie feelings in the apartment, we'd not noticed anything too weird. The apartment was very uninviting, cold and damp. We tried to decorate it and warm it up a little, but nothing really helped. Another thing was that no matter what we did, we could not get a phone installed. We had the phone company over about 4 times to fix the wires, but no matter what they did, we would get absolutely nothing, not even static. So we were really, really isolated. The entire time we were there, weird happenings continued. The ceiling above my brother's bed collapsed. The only reason he wasn't hurt is because he got up to use the bathroom. A fire started in my room. The fire department never determined why. If my friend hadn't stopped by and rang my bell, I would have continued sleeping. And within 5 minutes of answering the bell, my neighbour came out screaming that my room was on fire. I ran up. The entire back wall was in flames. I tried to put it out with a blanket, and unbeknownst to me, the door had closed behind me. It went from daylight to dark in 2 minutes, and I started to pass out. Thankfully, my friend was there and ran up, opened the door and carried me down the stairs. After that, my neighbour confided in us that strange things have always gone on in my building. In the 30s or 40s, a fire had killed a little boy within a month of the family moving in. In the 60s, a couple were whacked by the mob because of some insidious affair. There were no records because the church's records had been burned in a fire, so we couldn't get any more information than what people had said, than the people who had lived through it and lived
And this
around
woman
it.
had got raped in that apartment.
Oh, it's a boy, but yeah.
Oh, a boy got raped?
Yeah, within the first few weeks moving in.
What, their kid? Oh, what? No,
No,
someone
so they were
else
like,
in that.
so they were like 14, and
Oh,
someone
so
had
someone
broken
else
in and
in that apartment block, their little kid got raped.
there were other things that happened. A friend of mine coming into my apartment and seeing a little boy in burnt rags staring at her in my bathroom mirror. She ran out crying and refused to set foot in the door ever again. Another friend slept over. And they also put a side note here that neither of the friends mentioned here, the one who saw the little boy crying in the bathroom mirror or this next one, neither of them were told about their previous creepy experiences. As far as they knew, it was just a normal apartment. There was they'd no mention of it. This friend awoke in the middle of the night swearing that she saw a woman walk into my room through the door. My brother and I heard children crying and laughing one day downstairs, and when we tried to leave my mother's room, we were locked in, even though there was no lock, for an hour before it finally opened. My mother was downstairs doing laundry when the lights turned off in the basement, and she felt a cold, scaly hand grab her shoulder. Needless to say, my dad did the laundry after that. Weird smells, sounds, and the feeling that something or someone did not want you there, that something bad was going to happen to you, and that you were not at all welcome. We moved out a year to the day later. As soon as we could find a new apartment, we found out some more after that. The people that moved in after us tried to renovate the basement, and they found the body of a little boy in the wall. They left suddenly one night, not too long after that, and never returned. Another couple moved in and left as inexplicably as the last, and so on and so forth to this day. Since then, we met a woman who had gone to my mother's office. My mum's a nurse that works in a doctor's office. Because of a nervous condition, my mother noticed the address on her insurance card didn't match the one listed, and the woman explained that she had only lived at Sackett Street for a few months and had to leave because her mother had died, along with various other tragedies from within the first week of her moving in. My mother asked the woman ever noticed anything weird, and the woman explained exactly what we had gone through. Perhaps that was the cause of her nervous condition. We're all fine now, happy to be out of there, and we've moved on. We still see our old neighbour once in a while, and she always says the best thing we ever did was move out of that godforsaken house. Needless to say, we agreed. We've not been haunted since, and life is good. There's one thing that I've learned, I say, to trust your instincts. If you get horrible vibes from a place, don't put it off as some weird folly. Just get out. It's a long story, I admit you, and to be honest with you, I did not expect it. I did not expect the rate. I'm so sorry. I skimmed it. I thought that looks like a good paranormal story. I'm so sorry.
It sort of was, wasn't it?
I think the thing that really plays into it here is that it's a double-edged sword. So on the one hand, it's not just their experience; it's other people before them and after them having moved in and out, all within the first few weeks, and then all the way through. But it's also, on the other hand, it's like, okay, but there were no records. The records were destroyed, so this is all hearsay.
It's difficult. I mean, I'm guessing it was a true story in terms of like these people were saying this actually happened. Yeah,
I mean, these people were saying it happened. I don't know whether it was true or not.
I mean, for me, you do. I mean, I don't know if places actually get haunted. But what I do know is you do. I don't know what it is, but like when you go to certain places, you might think, "Oh, I don't like this. This is a bit creepy," or "There's just something about it doesn't feel right." And I don't know what that is, but I would agree with them that if you feel that way about somewhere, particularly if you're going to live there, you probably shouldn't live there. And I don't know what that is telling you not to be there.
Unless the rent or the mortgage are really good.
No, even then, I just think your best instinct is to follow your gut.
That's how they get you in it. Murder house, cheap price.
But like, look, there was a kid found in the fucking wall in the basement downstairs.
It was really dark. It was so much darker than I expected. I'm so sorry for the rape thing.
Look, I'm not saying that place is haunted, but it's definitely got bad.
And just to make clear,
you know what I mean? Like,
I was not laughing at the fact that this person got raped.
No.
I was laughing at the fact that I had not read the story.
Very poor timing.
And what I thought was a very fun, innocent story of a little bit of haunting and poltergeisting turned into rape within the second paragraph. And that's what I was laughing at, that sudden switch.
Yeah, and then it suddenly went to a different tone again. So I was like, wait, did I hear him correctly that someone got raped? 'Cause it just casually carried on.
Sort of like, if you've listened to our last episode, where we watched and reviewed The Room, sort of like when the mum gets breast cancer, it's sort of touched upon and then never comes back, and it's such a serious, dark issue.
Yeah.
And it's just, there it is, there it's gone.
Yeah, we can only assume she had successful treatment. I think...
Believability. No, let's start the other way around. Scareability.
Oh, mate. I wouldn't set foot in the place, let's put it that way.
So let me ask you, if you're going to move into a place, and admittedly maybe it's a bit different here because it feels a bit like suburban London is maybe not the place to do it, but if you're going to move into a place, would you speak to the neighbours first and try and get a sense of the place and the village as well, or the town?
No, I probably wouldn't do that.
Because that's the way you find out that a place is haunted, isn't it? If the neighbour says, "Oh yeah, some weird shit goes on in that house."
Yeah, but would they tell you? That's the thing, like you're trusting.
Well, she told them.
Yeah, but she didn't warn them beforehand, did she?
No, because they only started speaking to after they moved in.
Yeah, well then, I don't know.
So that's what I'm saying. Would you?
I don't think if I started knocking on people's doors in a block of flats and said, "By the way, I'm looking to rent this number. Anything weird going on in that house?" I don't know if I'm going to like what I hear, or two,
or also you
even
probably
get an answer.
Even if you do move in, you're going to be alienated from the community as being like that weird bloke who went around asking about ghosts.
Well, not even. I wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't mention ghosts. No. I appreciate that.
there's just this weird guy that was knocking on everyone's door asking if we know of anything weird going on. No, I think for me, I definitely wouldn't move in somewhere where I felt odd. I mean, I'm someone that, like, even when I'm in my house, like, I sometimes, like, when I'm in the kitchen, for example, I'm convinced sometimes, like, you'll feel like as if you think someone's watching, or, but I just put that down to my own anxiety. And
If it helps, I can't see much when you turn the lights out.
But no, I think, I mean, if all that shit was going on in the house, I'm pretty sure if I'd lived there, I'd be convinced it was haunted. So I guess believability for me is a 9. Because there's just that niggly thing in my head that goes,
yeah,
no,
that says
you'd
the
be
same
fine,
thing. That same thing.
just as anyone else would.
The same thing that stops you ever giving a 10.
Yeah. Believability. I mean, if I found out a kid had been raped in my building, I wouldn't want to live there just after that, to be honest. That would put me off. Especially if it was someone breaking in and raping the child, then that would make me even more uncomfortable. Let alone finding out someone found a body in the building, that would put me off. So I believe a bit, whether it's haunted or not, I don't know. I just think it's one of those places where a lot of bad shit has happened there. And I don't know whether because bad shit has happened there, it feels like there's an energy to the place where it feels wrong.
Yeah.
And then I feel it might even be a self-manifesting thing that you go in there. But as we heard from the story, there's people that have gone there not hearing the history of the place and that they see
reporting things.
So I don't know whether something does get put out there and we pick up on it, and then I don't know. I don't necessarily think that's spirit. I don't know whether it's energy or, because like I said, you do pick up when you go somewhere, sort of how you feel about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, because normally as soon as you walk in somewhere, you go, "Oh, this is all right," or you go, "I'm not sure." Do you know what I mean?
Okay, and you kind of you sometimes link that to a spirituality. You can
I don't
sometimes
know if
feel
I
that
link
about.
it.
No, but sometimes
It could
subconsciously it can
maybe
be a bit.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that might be just a very extreme version of that. What those people have.
Because you do, when you go looking at a property, you do get an instant reaction, and,
as to how you feel
either
about
fall
it.
in love with it or you don't.
Yeah,
There is a kind of that's definitely anyone who's ever done any kind of house hunting or property hunting will testify to that.
Yeah, and I think
attest to that. It's a real thing.
And I think there's definitely something to saying that you pick up on the energy in a room in terms of like when you're interacting with people. Like I said earlier, you know when you approach people sometimes whether it's going to be confrontational or if it's going to be all right. Not all the time, but you do sometimes. Believability though, it's definitely higher than some of the others. I mean, like I said, I wouldn't step foot in the place. So believability is 7.
Okay. Well, I think for me, scareability is probably an 8.
Just because
you
of
know
the practical implications.
Yeah, even if there's no sort of spiritual reason behind it,
there's a volume of
there
things
is clearly
happening.
something. Maybe it's just the location of it. Maybe it's something that people have decided, oh, that's a really easy place to commit crimes because there's like a really poor neighborhood or a poor building or something. There is clearly something there
that's drawing bad
that
shit.
that is happening, and it is a repeat thing. I would say then the believability is probably about a 4 or a 5, because there were some things in that clearly did happen.
Yeah.
But there were also things in that clearly were up for debate.
Yeah, that could be hearsay or someone's interpretation.
The seeing the kid in the mirror and shit like that. But the fact of, and also getting locked in the room, it's like, okay, but there was no lock, but okay, how much of that was you getting? How much of that was you just panicking and not being able to operate a basic, old-fashioned, possibly heavy, or maybe some models you have to lift it a little bit to. And if you're panicking and you're stressed out, you're not thinking about that. You're just, like all of us in any good situation, you're just tugging away, right?
Dirty bastard.
I had to get one in there. We hadn't done anything on it really through the episode. I had to get one.
Well, other than laughing at a child being raped, I feel like we behaved ourselves.
Honestly, I'm so sorry about that. I cannot apologise enough. But
I think
the fire and the rape, they clearly did happen. There is some stuff.
Too much had happened in that place for there to be nothing. But as to what the thing is that's causing it, I don't know.
There's an old adage, and I can't remember where it's from, but I do genuinely go by this as a general rule of thumb. If something happens once, it's happenstance. It's just happened.
Yeah.
If something happens twice, it's coincidental. It's a bit weird, but you know it can happen. If something happens a third time, that's enemy action.
There's something going on.
That you can't. That's now no longer something that's just coincidental or just happened. There's something is causing that.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't think we know what that thing
No,
is.
I don't think we do, and I think that's what holds it back on the believability
No, that's fair.
factor.
Whereas I think it's
For
funny.
me.
I think for people that believe in that sort of thing, the fact they don't know makes the believability for them shoot up, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely.
Then they go, well, because I can't explain it, it must be something supernatural. But like I said, I don't know what it is, like, whether it's energy or just bad vibes in the place, or I don't know what it is. But there's definitely something.
I know what it is. Works very much more as a visual cue, that one.
No, but for anyone wondering why I went silent, I just suspiciously panned myself.
So
to the camera.
I tend to listen to the podcasts when I'm on my way to work, when I walk to work.
Yeah.
And I'll listen back and I'll make notes. I'll try and think, what can I have done better? What
Do
should I have
you
done
actually?
differently? Or like mental notes,
That's fair.
not differently. But you know, I'll admit it, I listen back and I think, oh, I really wasn't paying attention to what you were saying there, and I clearly missed part of what you said, and I'm like, I need to make sure I don't do that. I need to make sure I stay more in the moment.
There's sometimes me and you make jokes deliberately hoping the other one doesn't pick up on it. So
oh,
it's like
definitely, definitely. But I do listen back on it, and what's happened is I'm going to listen back on that, and there's just going to be this moment where I'm like, what happened there? Oh, we looked at the camera.
Yeah.
Oh, we just said at the camera.
But yeah,
you can see it on YouTube.
Absolutely, and more of you should.
It's there.
Yeah, it is there. Every week.
Although at this point we don't know if the camera's died or not. And we did one recently where the camera did die and it stopped recording.
Well, no, the reason it stopped recording, for some reason, the version of filming had changed to time lapse, and that was set to 4 minutes. So it had recorded 4 minutes, and then
what I loved was that there was a part in the episode where we both did try to recreate a moment visually, and we did this look to what is now a dead camera.
I felt so upset about that.
We did a look to a dead camera. We just did a look to ourselves and thought that'll look great when it comes out, and it never came out.
No,
it was never recorded.
No,
I don't know if the camera picked up our look, but I think it was well timed. We both did like a slow look round. I think there's probably time for one more if you've got one more. If you want to whack one through.
Squeeze in one more. This one's called the
as the vicar said to the nun.
The actress said to the bishop.
Yeah, I mean you do it however you want. That's my role play.
This one's called the.
I played the nun, by the way.
I knew that. I knew that.
I've got a leftover penguin costume.
Normally Ash is the priest, isn't he?
Yeah, usually. Don't
you guys do a bit?
He brings his exorcism kit.
I was gonna say you guys do a bit of role play on that. You get strapped down. He screams the cry.
It's because when I'm getting a good dicking down, it looks like I'm being possessed.
Right. This one's called the Rocking Horse. One night when I was maybe 10 or 12, I had trouble falling asleep. My bedroom was the entire top floor of our house.
Fucking
rich.
Look at this prick. I already don't like him.
With my bed and such being on the left side and storage closets and play area being on the right.
Play area?
I was late. The next thing he's going to say he had a kitchen, Starbucks up
yeah,
there.
Then the butler came in.
I was lying in bed when I heard a noise from the other side of the room and see a rocking horse begin to rock. I mean, we've all seen that in movies. It's normally rocking chairs, isn't it? It was sitting just outside one of those storage closet doors. It proceeded to rock its way halfway across the room.
Brilliant.
And stopped dead. As soon as I said that, I was like, Jake's not going to like this story. It proceeded to rock its way halfway across the room and stopped dead under the ceiling light. At this point, I was freaking out and just buried my head under the blankets and never peeked out again until morning. It was all confirmed to not be a dream, as the rocking horse was still in the middle of my room when I woke up. Furthermore, I got a stern reprimand from my parents for being up and out of bed playing with my toys well past my bedtime. Their bedroom was directly below the storage closet play area and heard the creaking of the rocking horse shuffling across the room.
Okay.
The end.
Okay.
I mean,
you know, I don't know what to make of it. To be honest with you, but do you have any thoughts?
I mean, it's quite a classic sort of ghost story, isn't it? A ghost sort of rocking something and moving it across the room. I believe the kids saw it.
I believe if there was a ghost, as someone who's been around sort of rocking horses and that kind of thing, I believe if there was a ghost, he'd definitely be like, I'm having a go. Because you do. You see a rocking horse, you're like, I'm going to have a go on that. As long as it'll take my
you don't
weight.
see many of them nowadays.
As long as it'll take my weight, I'm having a go on that.
Oh, I'm taking a chance.
Oh, definitely. So I believe that. If
the parents heard it as well. I mean, and
it clearly moved. Like, there's no...
I've seen stuff move in the past. So I'm probably going to upset you and say it would shit me up if I saw it, to be honest. So probably scareability. I mean, if I'm the kid in the room, it's going to be a 9. If I'm the parent downstairs and I find out the next morning that my son didn't get out of bed and he tells me that story, I'm probably bricking it a little bit and thinking I need to put my kid up for adoption.
So your first
clearly there's something following
so you're
him
not
that I don't
thinking,
want to deal with.
You're not thinking this little prick had a little play session, now he's trying to convince me a fucking ghost did it. Your thought is like, right, well, you're getting to a new home.
Kids see shit. Kids see shit, man. So scareability, yeah, probably 7 or 8.
Okay, unbelievability.
Like I said, if my kid came downstairs and I had to go at them for being up and about late at night and they said it wasn't me and then explained that story. If they just said it wasn't me, it was a ghost, I'm going to go, right on, dickhead, you're grounded. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if he tells me that story and sells it, he could very well get away with it and get himself adopted in the process. So
I hope that if it comes to it and you and your partner do have children, that they listen back to these episodes of the podcast and start learning tricks on how to
get around
you.
I mean, to be honest, mate, they'll be able to do that anyway. I get mugged off by my nephew. The other one hasn't learnt yet, but he will.
Give him time. He's quite smart though, the other one, doesn't he speak Indonesian?
I'd probably say believability at 6 or 7.
Fair enough.
What about you?
Probably about a 2 or a 3 on the scareability.
Okay.
And a solid 1 on the believability.
Because you just assume the kid's lying, I'm
well,
guessing.
I'd put myself in that situation if I woke up and I saw the rocking horse move, and then I woke up the next day and it was slap bang in the middle of the living of my penthouse suite where the whole thing had taken place, and I'd probably think, my first thought would be like, I would be a bit worried, but I'd be worried because I think, Jesus, what kind of fucked up sleep was I having where I like moved this thing and then pictured it moving on its own, and I'd naturally assume that I'd pieced together, my subconscious had pieced together this story of it moving whilst I actually moved it.
I think you're assuming you're doing a level of thinking I don't know you'd actually do in the room as the rocking horse is coming towards you. Do you know what I mean?
No, in that moment but then in that moment I wouldn't think I was awake necessarily. I think that would be pretty...
I mean, I
don't know how
if I'm the
conscious I
kid,
am.
I'm running downstairs and going to my parents.
There's a lot to be said that he went back to bed.
Well, he just hid under the duvet. He was so scared he would probably passed out eventually.
But for me, that's what I think. I think, oh, I've done that. And I think, Jesus, what the fuck have I, like, what the fuck was happening where I moved it?
You've just watched it move on its own?
Well, this is the thing, so I'm like, what the fuck was happening to me where I moved it and then convinced myself that I didn't move it and it moved on its own? It's like, that's some weird shit was going on in my head last night. And that's what I'd think.
I don't know, I just can't.
That's where I'd go. And that, I think, is a really good highlight, example of the difference between us on these issues.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're putting your child up for adoption.
I think it's because I know how my brain works, and I don't know. Like, I don't think I could imagine doing that and then believe I'd done that. I know the brain can do incredible things and
but I'm thinking,
convince you of stuff.
I'm thinking, Jesus, okay, what did my child eat last night? And like, are they under any stresses and stuff to cause this kind of thing? And you're just like ringing the foster home, being like, you got to come take this kid. This kid's some fucking messed up shit. There's some ghost shit following my child.
I'd probably get some sage out if it was me. I'd get some sage.
While we cook him.
No, you do the smoke. It's called a smudge.
Much like your child's existence after this. smudge on your history because you kicked that kid to the curb.
Guys, as always, please don't call Childline. We don't endorse child rape or putting a kid up for
No, and to be
adoption because
fair,
they think they saw a ghost.
We don't have children,
No.
mostly because Andrew's kids thought they saw a ghost and he got rid of them. But we don't have kids now.
Yeah. Do you know what? I thought third time would be the charm. Do you know
It
what
just
I mean?
wasn't. That's,
No.
your kids are haunted.
Maybe it's me.
It's your balls. Your balls are haunted. Never thought your balls would get a sound effect, but here we are.
Mate.
Halloween.
Feel good.
Halloween, man.
So I feel like we've covered as much as we can at the time, really. I feel
Yeah,
like
and also,
if anything, we've run out of time.
I would like to say to everyone, a very happy Halloween, whether you believe in the
Happy
holiday or
Halloween.
not, whether you celebrate it or not.
I mean, we
Happy
should have
Halloween.
discussed that, I suppose, but no, I don't really.
No, it's better
celebrate.
just to do our own thing. And
Yeah, I mean, I get naked and smother myself in honey, but beyond that, it's nothing out of the usual. Do you know what I mean?
no, it's just normal. It's a normal day.
I'd just like to pretend I'm a hungry bear.
He
But anyway,
does.
that's enough about my private life.
He really does.
So, guys, as always, thank you for listening.
Actually, make eye contact while you growl. Find it weird.
Let us know what you think. Let us know whether you agree with where we put things
Yeah,
on the believability
so
scale.
we've read out a few stories today. I want to know what you think in terms of
we put
believability
some
and
We
scarability.
put some big questions out there today. Like we discussed God and our beliefs in
We
him.
did discuss
So
God. He popped up a
look,
lot.
if anyone, he always does. He always does. But guys, let us know what you think. Do you believe in God? What you think of our thoughts and beliefs in God and spirituality? And if you think it's all a bunch of utter nonsense and crap, please feel free to share that with us. We're not against any comments, I guess.
No, but I
really.
really want to know two things from you guys. I want to know, one, what were your believability and scarability
Yeah.
ratings out of 10 for the stories we've told? And two, what was your favourite story? Did you have one that, was it the rape? And I'm so sorry. Again, I really can't apologise enough for that. It just,
Laughing as he says it now.
it really swiped left. It really
Have
got
you
me out of
seen
nowhere.
that video online? There's a Asian American comedian, and he's telling two other comedians about the fact he was sexually assaulted when he was younger.
No.
And it's honestly, guys, watch it. Just Google like guys laughing at hearing a guy's sexual assault story, and it starts with him going, so when I was X age, I was brutally sexually assaulted, and the guy just goes,
No.
and literally the other guys, and one of them's covering his face, and the guy's like, "Did you just laugh?" And he was like, "Well, it's because you added the word brutally. That's not how you started it a second ago."
No.
And he was like, and then they start laughing. He was like, "Guys, like, I'm going to start again. If any of you smirk, I'm going to lose my shit." And then he goes, "Right, so I was brutally," and the guy goes,
Well, yeah, don't repeat brutally. If brutally is the one that's ticked it off, don't repeat brutally.
and then this poor bloke's just like, "No, I'm." He's like, "Honestly, I'm."
I know, and
so
I feel bad
awkward.
because this
I
is
don't know
clearly
whether
someone's
it's staged or.
Well, this is clearly someone's
Um,
trauma, and yet here I am laughing as I come across their trauma.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry. I really didn't mean it like that.
But guys, as always, you can find us. Where can they find us?
Oh, I thought you were just going to do the whole thing.
No,
I think you
should
should just do the whole
No,
thing.
we take turns.
Yeah, no, but I don't really want to do it.
Right, fine. So it's at Swords Crossing on Twitter, at Crossing Swords on Facebook, at Crossing Swords _podcast on Instagram, and Crossing Swords 19@gmail.com. You can also find us on YouTube. You just search Crossing Swords plus the name of the episode, and we should pop up. We also put a link to our YouTube page in the description of every podcast episode, and it will be on the bottom of the screen at several points during the videos now. It's always on the bottom. Always on the bottom.
It's Halloween. I was just taking a day off. Sorry,
so,
bro. I'll be back
guys,
for the next one.
no, hopefully not. Guys, as always,
Wow, this
we love
murder's
you.
happening sooner than I thought.
bye-bye.
Bye. Look, I'm not even moving. I'm not even moving.
Stop
It's
moving
on
it,
its own.
Jake.
It's not even on its
I
own.
didn't even want to fucking
Look.
do this.
O-C-K.
Oh, don't wanna be-
I was fucking cool though that it's doing the same thing. Okay, are you there? Yeah, see, I'm not even moving that. I'm not even, I swear
Are
to
you
God.
sure? Like, I feel something moving it.
I'm not even joking, that weren't me.
Fuck off.
Alright, let's get out of here.
All right. Bye.